Mr. Duffy's workshop. Grandfather wanted George to go to Mr. Duffy's house to collect a present. The present was for George's little cousin, Sally. Mr. Duffy phoned this morning, Grandfather told George. He is finished. Would you mind going now? George didn't mind going at all. He loved to go to Mr. Duffy's house at any time. He loved talking to Mr. Duffy about his work. Most of all, he was fascinated by Mr. Duffy's tools. A few minutes' walk brought George to a tall house. He knocked on the old wooden door. After a few moments, Mrs. Duffy opened it. "Come along in, George," she said. "Mr. Duffy is in the workshop." She walked ahead of George along a short passageway and stopped at the open kitchen door. George caught a glimpse of bowls of plums and peaches on the kitchen table. A delicious smell of simmering fruit wafted past his nose. Mrs. Duffy pointed to an open doorway, where bright sunlight fell across the single step. "You know your way, don't you, George?" George nodded. "Thank you, Mrs. Duffy," he said. George stepped into the small courtyard, brilliant with flowers, cascading in streams of white, pink, and crimson from pots on the window sills. In one corner, a peach tree dropped its branches laden with golden fruit. Near the tree, a door stood open. George crossed the courtyard and stepped inside the Mr. Duffy's workshop. This was one of George's favorite places in all the world, and Mr. Duffy was one of his favorite people. Mr. Duffy was leaning over his workbench. On the wall beside him, clean but well-used screwdrivers, chisels, and pillars of varying sizes were ranged in neat racks alongside hammers and saws.
Досить.